Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, June 16th at 7:52 a.m. Timestamp. 7:54. Some say 8 o'clock in the morning. Been up since 5. So it's about 8. So about 3 hours. All right. Meditated. It's good medication. Definitely meditation. I almost screwed up and said medication. But yeah, meditation. Good stuff. Good meditation is good medication. I'll write that down. I'm going to start writing all my stuff down because heck with this. I keep spewing stuff out. What did I just say? Meditation. Everybody's going, meditation! That's already happened. In time. Medication. Let's say good medication. Or you can meditate on some bad stuff, I guess, and get bad medication. Right? Nobody ever thinks about that, like meditating on bad shit. That'd be nuts, right? That's, I guess, an evil, like evil overlord or whatever in Disney. I don't know. Meditation is like medication, like good medication. Good meditation is like good meditation, good medicine. So, for sure, in a lot of ways, Einstein said there's more things that are unseen that are seen, that are more real that are seen. But I always gonna have to come back to that throughout my life and my discussions, wherever I'm at, whoever I'm talking to, or whatever I'm doing. That our light spectrum, what we can see, is only a little blip compared to the whole spectrum of what is out there that we can't see. So there's a heck of a lot more. Like if there was a line like this of seeing that, of things that the light spectrum of things that are out there that you can see, we only see this much of this whole line of spectrum of light. This much. That's science, that's fact. So there's this much of stuff going on we don't see. What the heck is going on? What's that? And why can't we see it? Because our eyeballs are limited in what we can see in the spectrum of light, right? Because other things can see a lot better than us, like eagles, animals. Eagles can see a heck of a lot better than us. Dogs can see with their nose and see like heat. That's why they sit down after you get up. They sit where you sit because they smell the heat that you just left where you're sitting. Fun fact. I got a lot of fun facts. Scientifically backed. I always tell Cindy, never mind. So I always say it's scientific fact. I always say, because you know me, you know she always fact checks me. So anyways, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's just it's really important stuff. I'm still having a really hard time losing Drew and Preacher and Michelle. There's so many. Chris and Mark. They were twins. They were in a class lower than me, and they were awesome. I had helped inspire them to be rock stars. because in my study halls, I was playing guitar. I'd bring my amp in school and my electric guitar, and I'd be in. So I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna go and I'd ask, can I go and I don't know how I got the the authority to do what I wanted. Maybe because my grandfather was the principal of the high school and little school for so many years, and I don't know. Anyways, they said, sure, you can go in there and play guitar. So I'd go into the auditorium of our school, and everything was, all the doors were locked, and I'd set my amp up and my guitar. I'd play guitar on stage. It was awesome for the 45 minutes or so. And sometimes there was a double block, so there was 2 study halls, so I had a lot of time to practice and play. I'm jamming, playing guitar in there. I inspired my shop teacher to play guitar for the rest of his life, and he's in a band, so God bless him. And I inspired these 2 to become rock stars, change their names to Superstar and Rockstar. You can look them up. Chris and Mark Kensler. Love them to death. Love them. They both died. They had a cause, being clean, and sober, and being a rock star. They hung out with Stanley Lee, and of Kiss, and am I saying that right? Boy, my brains are mush. Kiss. They got to play with him. They got to play with all their. They just call rock stars because they were rock stars. Holy cow, they were rock stars, and their name, one was Rockstar and one was called Superstar. They legally changed their names to Rockstar and Superstar, which at first I was like, that's crazy, and then it was, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm so proud of them. And why not? They were both adopted, so they had that. I can't imagine what that's like. I kind of can, because my mom left when I was like 1.5, and I was raised by my dad, who was not there. So I don't know. Yeah, they were adopted and had a lot of issues, but they broke free of those issues, and God, they're both gone. This is my fear with Drew. Like, he was my brother, and look at me, close to the veil, I keep thinking positive and doing positive stuff, and try not to bring me down too much, though it is, can't help it. I loved him so much every day, every night, and every day of my life since we met. There's more people out there. Yeah, he's not the only one, but I'll never have, I don't know, I hope I'll have conversations like I had with him, with someone again, but we had conversations that were just so amazing, so intelligent. He was so intelligent, and read so many books, and was so knowledgeable, and in so many things, of like mystical things, and different cultures, and just studied him since he was a kid, and read him, and really well versed in all that. And we connected with my Native American heritage and traditions, because I'm part Native American, and we kind of combined them together, our spirituality. So yeah. Plus, I was born, into going to vacation Bible school, and the indoctrination of becoming a Christian without me even realizing it, before I even had a choice. That sucks. I think you should be able to have a choice and learn about them all, like they chose them in the beginning, because it came down to 5 gods. Like, we could be praying to Zeus right now. You guys don't know that. Like they in history came down to 5 gods, and one of them was Jesus. And they say, which means, you know, Hell's Jesus in Spanish, which is Hell Zeus. We could be. Anyways, it came down to 5 gods. Now I'm not making this up. This is fact. And they were like, who do we get them to believe in? You know, the Romans were like, who do we get them to believe in and choose to be our God? Or, you know, and there were 5 gods. It was like, I forget who they all are at the time right now. Zeus was one of them. I know that. Maybe Apollo. I don't know. I'm telling you the truth, man. And they were like, oh, we're gonna go with this, with Jesus. No kidding. No kidding. Now let's push that narrative. And they keep pushing narratives, you know. That's all they've done for a long time, man. Like since man, you know, got a brain, started thinking about stuff, and started manipulating other people with their power. They got people to, you know, look how powerful the Vatican is and what they control. They have their own police department there, you know. What the heck is that? Are they a country or a state, or what the heck are they? Like, how can they have their own government and their own police department? And how can they control the whole world, you know? And what the heck is that all about? And everybody's like, you know, there's a whole lot of fear mongering about that, but there's a lot of truth about that too. But anyways, enough of all that crap. But I'm just saying, they were choosing 5 gods like for us to believe in, man. So with Drew, you know, he grew up without religion. His family didn't have religion, which I thought was very interesting, and no spirituality. His father's very, very, very successful. He's an architect, and built towns and cities. I mean, built not just buildings, but whole towns and communities. Built a whole lot of communities. Built a lot of towns. You know, he's responsible for building communities and stuff, man. And put a lot of time and thought in those things where he could, you know, gosh, so much. It's amazing. Oh, absolutely incredible. But it just propelled Drew with his spirituality to try to understand all of culture's beliefs and traditions and spirituality and stuff. So he knew a lot about a lot of different kinds of belief systems. And it all came down to love. It all came down to this right here, love. Love was this love. Either way you put it. I mean, even if they say, you know, love everybody, blah, and if they don't, you know, cut their heads off, that's pretty bad. That's not really love. It's pretty bad stuff. But anyways, there's a lot of stuff out there, and sometimes like people went with it and they did good things with it, and sometimes they took a lot of these things and they weaponized it and they used it for their own power, for their own greed, and to get powerful and to get Learjets and money and you know, and notoriety and fame and fortune, you know. Like there's Kenneth Cole, whatever his name is, and there's a whole lot of people out there that have, you know, Learjets and stuff, which I want, mind you, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to make it run on water. I know it can be done, dang it. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not gonna stop myself from wanting one. Are you kidding me? Come on. I'm not limited in my imagination, my brain. It's not my imagination. It's what's going to happen. I'm not limited, in definitely not in this world. That's for sure. In my life, I'm not going to be. I'm done with that. After Drew's death, a lot of things have that was a catalyst for a lot of change in me. He's gone now, and like I said, I'm not going to. I hope I have these conversations with somebody else, but we know stuff, man, that just other people just don't. And we had conversations about that kind of stuff that was just normal to us. You know, it's like having conversations, you know, with Tesla and or Buckminster Fuller, or Tesla or Buckminster Fuller and Einstein, you know, talking together, you know, about the theory of relativity or something, which is very boring and who gives a crap. That's just third grade junk to Drew and I. We were on to way bigger things than that. Like, I'm just talking about what we can see and what we can't see, and what we can't see, we can affect for us, or we can allow it to manipulate us or do whatever it wants with it. You know, we can allow people that figured out how to use the things that we can't see against us in a lot of different ways for a long, long time, and then try to reverse that damage and free yourself from it and think for yourself. Think for yourself. Freely. Liberty and justice for all. Not just for some, a few, you know. Jeez. Alright, so anyways, sorry. I'm really upset. I'm grieving so hardcore, some really hardcore stuff, trying to make sense of this stuff, and my brain's like this massive computer almost, and it's just trying to figure stuff out all the time and make sense of things, or it just can't, it doesn't rest until it makes sense of things, until things make sense, and for good, you know, for good reasons. I'll try to stay positive and glean the good things out of these tragedies and traumas and things that happened, you know. For crying out loud, I just saved a lady from being killed by 2 dogs 2 weeks ago, you know. It's just like, what? You know, and I'm not physically supposed to be able to do that, but something else took over, which I believe in heavily, you know, but thank God I was there. But it's just like things like that. It's just, I need a film crew follow me around, not just me telling all these stories to a few people out there that religiously watch me. You know, Cindy and I are like, we need camera crews watching this, because you wouldn't believe the stuff that we say and do and see, and it's just wacky, wild, and it's just like, whoa. Anyways, so I'm gonna keep going, missing him and trying to make sense of this and trying to do good by him, do good by Preacher, my dog, and take care of Toby, you know, and play with him. And he's depressed since losing his best friend, and then I take care of Don here. His light is gonna come on pretty soon, and well, no, I guess about 9 or so. And then there's Gracie, the turtle. She's always happy and she's awesome. So and then continue on with my business and stuff. I have some ideas with it. I wanna incorporate the love signs and stuff that we had. I'm gonna definitely do that and carry on, because him and I, he originally was the one that spray painted love up on this highway back when he was in high school. He had a template actually that he had, because he had to do it really quickly. So he would have his template and then he would spray paint it, or whatever you call it, and then he would spray paint it, and it said love. So talking with him, I was like, well, let's start a revolution, a love revolution, not a campaign, which he went on with campaign. I said, no, we won't want it to be political, like I said, political or spiritual or religious, just spiritual and real. And so we went with just in simple, and we went with love. I mean, love, and the highest vibration you can vibrate at, and all kinds of great things about it. Just love, 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 love. So what I'm gonna do is, he's gone, and other people, like, since he's had this love campaign, before I had another talk with him and say, hey man, remember when we were like, hey, let's do this, you know, and we started this thing together? Because then he had another friend of his, he was on the morning show actually with this other friend that actually tried to steal the business from him. It was really awful. Just I don't want to say negative stuff about people, but boy, oh boy, this guy made a lot of trouble, and that was not love. Sorry, buddy. One little act of that was just not love. That wasn't us at all. We wouldn't do any of those things or say or think any of that stuff. So sorry you missed it, and I was sorry that Drew got taken. And it's easy to do because he was so gullible and so trusting and kind and loving, and which is good, but he was gullible, or I don't know. And then before he knew, he was in trouble. Not in trouble, but this guy was making trouble for him. And then he had a girlfriend that said, "Oh, let's make a whole lot of money off of this." You know what I mean? And it was like, "Oh, let's make a whole bunch of money," and then tried to, like, push this thing to make money with it. And that's not what we did it for. And him and I talked about it. And he broke up with her because of it. And she just wouldn't let go of it. So people tried to steal it, and you can't steal something that you don't understand and don't have yourself. These people that started trouble and all that and stole it were not loving. That was not a loving act. They didn't ask. They just took it, and then they didn't understand, the whole thing. There's a whole thing behind it. A whole let's say a whole formula behind it that they don't know anything about. And only Drew and I know the formula, period. So him and I were the ones that sat down and talked about it, but he had other people since me, sit down and try to steal from him about it, and talk to him about it, and try to, sway and do stuff. In fact, until they were on the morning show one time with this guy, and made a book. Oh, they had a book which he gave to me, which is really nice and awesome, and with all the love signs that are all over the city. And so that's why I have, like, stacks of these love signs and stuff that I've shown, because we put them all over the place. So what I'm going to do on my website is, I decided this morning, is I'm going to sell the love signs and t-shirts and hats and magnets and stickers with love, just love. It's not stealing, it's my original idea. So the only difference between them is the only difference between them will be the blue dots, which nobody can tell me what they are unless you know, and you don't know, and I'm not going to tell you. That, and there's a lot more other things that are unknown that only the creators know, and I'm not going to share that. Because like I said, people steal it, steal or whatever. But hey, can you tell me what those are? What those are there for? No. Anyways, and also I'm not going to have the red line around it. I'll make up my own, but it's just love. There's no other thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'll do the red border around it. But I don't want to make it, like, I don't want to steal his design, let's say. When it's not his design, it's actually our design, and it was through basically what we did, and then he designed it. So to have a company produce it and print them out and stuff. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I already do the same thing already on my website, which is this, right? And then this one here. Right? Look familiar? I thought so. So they're already on my website in one way already. It's not particularly red and all other stuff, but here you go. There you go. And a best friend of mine's got one of them. So they're already on there. I'm not saying there's something, that's not nothing new, but I want to make a lot more other things with love you know, just as the word love, you know. I do also hearts, heart necklaces that represent love, you know. That's one of the first things I ever sold in my company.